Let's make sure this is recording. All right. Good morning. Thank you guys for joining me this afternoon. This morning, and we do have a few more people that are signed up. However, I'm gonna get started. Of course, we record these sessions, so this will be available later on this afternoon. And the reason why I'm doing this earlier in the week instead of Friday, which is the normal time, is there were a lot of questions on Monday night, and we didn't get to everything that I wanted to get to before you guys start planning your presentations. And I want to make sure that you understand not only the instructions, but understand that there are options for you guys, especially the way that I like to challenge you and make you start thinking outside of the box and using your craft and sharing that with the world and not being afraid to share that. Building your confidence in knowing that you made this amazing choice for yourself to further your education, and you come to a school that emphasizes creative minds, and knowing that you're going to have all this opportunity while you're here to take advantage of all these assets. Now, I'm not just saying academically. Of course, the courses that you go through, the professors that you meet and learn from are going to give you all these awesome skills that you have not tapped into yet. But it's also your peers. It's connecting and networking with those people that are either like-minded in the field that you're going to, or having the blessing to interact with those that are in all creative fields. This industry is very immersive, and genres are crossing over. People are exploring new ways to incorporate the creative process, and it starts with you. It starts with being open-minded, absorbing all your surroundings, and taking advantage of what's presented. So this journey really is in your hands. You have the opportunities presented to you. It's up to you to take advantage of what's been presented, and it's how you use that knowledge, and it's how you share that knowledge as well. So it goes both ways. It's obtaining new skills and developing new ideas and ways to present those ideas, and it's also sharing that with others, and becoming the teacher, not just being the student, but becoming the teacher, and sharing your level of skill and knowledge with them to develop each other and support each other. So I know that there's a lot of anxiety, especially when it comes to this presentation, where we're asking you to think of yourself in the future. And it's not supposed to scare you. It's supposed to be a way to get you excited, that you're embarking on this amazing journey to develop yourself and grow and evolve and be a part of something that, if you didn't make that choice, maybe you would not be a part of it. So although you are at the very beginning, and you may not have sketches, you may not have things recorded, You may have not done films. There was something that drove you here. There was some kind of force that sparked that inspiration within you to pursue this career. And that's what we want you to get excited about, and research everything that you are going to encounter while you're here, and have the confidence that when you are a graduate of Full Sail, you have these opportunities and windows that are open for you. And it's up to you to present yourself as such, knowing that you have these skills and knowing that you have this experience, knowing that you did everything you can possibly do to reach your goals. So, how does that sound? Does that sound like something that you guys can do? Cool. Awesome. Okay, so before I get into a little bit about personal branding, because we didn't get there on Monday night, I want to go over the things that you should be focusing on for tonight. And tonight is when the initial post is due on the discussion board. The discussion board is all about an inspirational presenter. So someone that influenced your path. And then, of course, in the instructions, we encourage that you look for someone in your industry. It's an obvious choice because whether you're going into computer animation or you're going into gaming or you're going into music production, it's good to understand people that have been there before you, and what are the tactics or strategies that they embraced and developed along the way that made them successful. But that does not mean that that is the only inspiration, or that you can't get your inspiration from other means. So for example, as always, I post the initial post up there as a starter to get this conversation going. Now, I'm not a philosopher, and my line of work, I always wanted to become an educator. I wanted to be a part of something that would allow me to teach and learn at the same time. Now, Maya Angelou is one of the biggest inspirations in my life, and she is not a teacher per se, but she educates, and she's a philosopher, she's a poet, she's an activist, revolutionary. She is all these things encompassing in one. So I look to her as an inspiration, especially with her philosophy of live your teaching. And it brought me to a place where I wanted to be that model for my students. And I wanted to practice what I preached. And I wanted to be in the trenches with them to understand the process. And I'm a learner. I'll always be a learner, and I think that is what's so amazing about the profession that I chose, because it allows me to do so. Um, so it doesn't necessarily have to be, if you're a musician, that your inspiration is a musician. It could be a writer, it could be a philosopher, it could be a businessman, something that has influenced the path that you chose. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay. And the other part of that discussion, and this is the part of the initial post, is to watch the TED Talk on Julian Treasure. And he's amazing just because, well, first, I can listen to him for hours, just his accent and the way he presents himself. And it gives you a glimpse on what are the things that you could be practicing in your role as the mentor to captivate your audience. And it goes through the HAIL method, which is honesty, authority, integrity, and love. So going back to week 1, when we talked about emotions being universal and it's what connects us as human beings, that ties into this HAIL method. It's being transparent. It's allowing yourself to be vulnerable and allowing your audience to pick up on, yes, they're human. We can relate to this person, even though the situations might be different and the stakes might be different. We've all been there before. So that's the second part of that discussion. Make sure that you are comparing the presenter to how they use the HAIL method. And the reasoning behind this is to make you aware of the things that you can do when it's your turn as the mentor, things that you could put into practice. When you are creating your plans this week, asking yourself those questions, am I being transparent? Is my audience going to be able to follow my purpose? Do they know that I'm doing this in love, for the love and the passion of what I do? And then, of course, as always, as last week, and I know this is repetitive, but I want to make sure because there's a lot of points lost. The whole idea of a discussion is that, to create discussion. After your initial post is done, by tonight, remember to go back in and read over your classmates' post and offer insightful comments to at least 2 of your classmates. Now, it's cool that some of you are going in there already and you're making comments, but I expect more. There's about 75 of you throughout my sections, and I make sure that I communicate with every single one of you and do it to a level where you understand that I read your post and I've understood, I've been inspired, and also it's prompted me to ask questions to carry on the conversation. So if you look at the RISE model that was provided for you, and it's throughout the month, but it was first introduced to you in the week 1 assets, that's what you should be focusing on. Acknowledge the person, acknowledge them by name, acknowledge that you've read and understood their post and you were inspired to read on. Something prompted you to read on their post, and offer insightful comments back. This is all in preparation of giving that strong feedback. I will definitely call upon you, especially in week 3, to sharpen those skills. Part of being a part of community is supporting each other and networking and communicating with each other. So that is what I'm going to be looking for, especially this week, especially that we've already gone through week 1 and we already gone through a discussion post. I've made the comments back on your post and in your feedback about returning to the discussion board and enhancing communication. So I'm going to be looking for that this go around, and I won't be so lenient. And again, this is not to pick on you. This is not to break you down. This is to lift you up and groom you for success throughout the entire program. So, are we cool on the discussion? Is there any questions about the discussion board this week? Awesome, awesome. And just for those that are going to watch the recording back, I've already been on the board, so know that I'm communicating with you also, and if you had posted already, I posted a response to you already. And then, just to repeat, by 11:59 p.m. tonight, the initial post is due up there. This is to give myself and your classmates ample time to go in and offer you guidance and respond to your post. Okay, that's this discussion. I'm going to go through personal branding a little bit, and then I want to get back into the week 2 assignment. But I do want to stress that the discussion board should be the first thing that you should do, especially that the initial post is due tonight. My comments back to you is the start of giving you guidance to the final presentation, and it will help you with your plans. All right, so creating a brand. Now, I'll ask you guys, when I lost my headphones. Sorry about that, guys. I lost my headphones. I'm outside currently, getting bit by fire ants, so I apologize. But if I bring it up, the idea of personal branding, what comes to mind? What do you think about when you think about personal brand? Me. Yes, of course. That's part of it. Oh, Caitlin, I'm sorry to hear that, but don't worry, I'm not gonna judge you. I'm in Florida, so we get bad weather all the time. No worries. Okay, so Derek, you're on the right path, because me, it definitely involves you, of course. But does it stop there? Does it only stop with you? Caitlin, I love it. It's what we represent and how we want to be viewed. So, we have a perception of who we are, and then there's the perception that others believe who we are. Now, if you stick to being transparent and holding on to integrity and being honest, then you are projecting that as such, and your audience, for the most part, will absorb that and take that in and see that integrity within you. So, of course, I say for the most part, because let's be real, that haters are gonna hate. There's always going to be a person out there that opposes your views, or just has deaf ears and doesn't want to hear your side of the story, or even care about what you say. But what you need to do is be strong within yourself. And there is stigmatisms, or what's the word, myths that come with personal branding. Now, one of them is that you don't have a personal brand, which is nonsense, because if you are present, if you speak to others, if you communicate, you have a personal brand. So if you start thinking of yourself as a product, and I know it sounds superficial a little bit, but in essence we are a product when it comes to selling ourselves to the industry, whether it is selling our ideas or our services or a product that we developed. Um, the main focus is that we want to convey who we are to others in the most open and honest way, and then understand that that's what we're going to receive. So I have this debate many times, especially when it comes to my campus classes, because we are in a room together and everybody could be vocal. So the debate is, well, Miss P, I'm a little harsh, and I could be cocky at times, but that's who I am. And if people don't want that, then I don't want to work for them. And that's what I'm talking about. As long as you know who you are deep down inside, there's nobody that can touch that. And it won't bother you if you are looked over because of that, because you don't want to be associated with people that don't respect who you are. So there's a myth that personal brand is that your image on the outside is separate from the image on the inside. Now, to a certain extent, that is true, because for the most part in society, what do we see first? How do we view people first? What's the first thing that we look at? Is it their soul? Their appearance. Okay? Now, this is not to put anybody down, it's just a fact. It's something, the first thing that we see is the person's appearance. So I play this little game with my in Canvas, and it gets a couple of chuckles, but I asked you guys to picture yourself at a club, and you either with your girlfriends or you with your boys, and you see the most beautiful person that you've ever seen on this earth from across the room. And of course you get all those butterflies and tinglies, and you are elbowing your boys, or you're elbowing your girls to get them to look in that direction, to understand what you're talking about. And you're trying to muster up this confidence to go over there and talk to that person. So in your head, your reception, oh my God, this guy is so gorgeous, this girl is hot, how am I going to approach them? And then you finally get the confidence to go up to that person. So the whole time you're walking over, you're like, oh my God, and probably fanning yourself off, and your heart is beating, and you finally introduce yourself. And then that person opens their mouth. Are you with me yet? They open their mouth, and they're just not the person that you thought they were. And that hotness level jumps down a few notches. And that the image of that person makes them as ugly as their words are. Do you get what I'm saying? And then on the other foot, there might be a plain Jane sitting on a bench. I'm one of them. And, you know, people wonder if they should approach that because it's not, you know, sometimes it's viewed as that person is reclusive or an introvert, or they're into their own thing. They don't really wear makeup or present them in a flashy way, and you debate on whether or not to sit by that person. And then you make that decision to sit and introduce yourself, and you have this conversation, and then all of a sudden that plain Jane is an angel and the most beautiful thing you've ever seen on this earth, and not seen in the physical, but you've seen their soul. So without sounding preachy, this is my ideal. You have the power as an individual to wear your soul on the outside. It's the way that you present yourself. It's the way that you treat people. It is how you communicate, and the way that you carry yourself. Your inside could be more powerful than any outward appearance, and they could be one in the same. But it's up to you to make people see that way. And of course, like I said before this whole conversation started, haters are going to hate. There is always going to be an opposition. That is the way of the world. There's light and dark, there's good and evil, there is yin and yang, there's always balance. And that's really to keep us going and to understand our inner strength and know who we are. So the moment that you realize who you are on the inside, there is nobody on this entire earth that can ever touch that. As long as you know who you are, that's all that matters. And you know, just make that known, make that visible to the world. Do we get it? Okay, so of course there's a process, and if you take this process, it kind of goes along or correlates with your plan. Okay, discovery. I know that it looks like a linear on the slide, but in all actuality, it's not linear. It's circular. It's something that occurs. It's a cycle that goes on and on and on. It's really up to you to know what you want out of life, and if you want the change, to go and change it. That you have the power to change it, and you might be reinventing yourself along the way. Um, by developing new skills, or being enlightened by a situation, or how many times do our personal experiences change our perceptions and change our minds? But know that that's okay. It's okay. It's a process. It's called life. um, so discovery might happen all along. It might happen at different parts of your life, but there is a core. You do have core values, you have core ideas, you have core philosophies, and it's really what makes you tick. It makes you get up in the morning, it motivates you, it gives you the courage to take risks. So discovery, you're already doing this. You're doing this every day. You did it at the time that you made the decision to come at Full Sail. So you're in discovery all the time. Step 2 is create. Now, you can't, well, I don't want to say can't, because that's a negative word, but creation should be all the time. If you read any of the books of the gurus, the people that are successful at their craft, whether it's in music or art or writing, developing, programming, computer animation, whatever it may be, all the successful people will tell you that you have to do it every day, even if it is a few minutes each day. You have to be in your craft every day. And it makes so much sense, because think about it. You chose this path. You chose to develop this passion inside you because it makes you happy. So why wouldn't you want to do something that makes you happy every single day? So creation should be a constant, and I encourage you guys to keep the stuff that you develop, even if you don't feel that it's up to par yet. Keep it. Know that it's going to evolve over time, and that's what I want you to think about when you are doing this final presentation. It's a work in progress. It's something that is going to be something you are going to add on. It's going to be something that you can look back on 5 months from now and be like, wow, this is how far I've come. Hasn't it been an awesome ride so far? And that step 3 is communicate. Any key to success is communication. It's the way we have been blessed as human beings to have a voice, to have the ability to speak and communicate with each other, and share our ideas, and get offer insight, offer support, give attention, spread love. We have those abilities. Technology has made this even more of a vast ocean that we can explore and journey on. It's given us the ability to move past our own little circles and spread globally and talk to people across seas and in different zip codes and time zones, which still amazes me at this current time. It still amazes me that I am sitting here in our Zen garden on campus, and I'm speaking to you through a computer. And I'm outside here in sunny Florida, and you guys are in all different places. Whether you're at your office at work, or you're at home in your pajamas, sipping a cup of coffee, we're all in different places, yet we are communicating with each other. And I just think that is fascinating. I think that is so strong in our society, and we could use these tools for good, for good. And the last step is maintenance, and I feel like it's a constant. you I usually equate this to, you put out your first single, and you put out your first single and it hits the stores and it blows up and everybody is all over it. It's going viral. Is that the time to sit back in your lazy boy chair with your feet up, with your hands behind your back, and say, I'm awesome? And that's it. Are people going to continue to be your fans, continue to buy your music, continue to follow you, if you just sit back and let the awesomeness of the 15 minutes carry you? Does that work? In most cases, no. So you constantly have to maintain, and you maintain with communication, and you maintain by constantly creating and discovering things about yourself, and getting developing new skills and finding new ways to connect with people. So maintenance is something that is ongoing. You need to maintain, unless you all you want is the 15 minutes of fame. Then you understand that you've met your goal and that's as far as it's going to go. So it goes back to really knowing who you are and knowing what your goals are. Having a goal is the main focus of the presentation that you're developing this month. Any questions on that? And know that personal branding is going to be more predominant as you progress in this program. It's basically just being introduced at this point um, as a foundation to get you start thinking about who you are and what your goals are, what you ultimately want to take away from this journey that you embarked on. What 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 do you want to share with the world? So, do we have any questions? Cool. Okay, so here we are getting to the presentation, and I feel like I need to go over this a little bit more. It seemed kind of rushed Monday night because we were getting overtime, and it's already late for many people that attend the night session. So I wanted to revisit this a little bit more in detail. So uh, planning a presentation, you're offered several different things. So you have the instructions of this presentation. You have an overview of what the final presentation entails. So you could start thinking about what your goals are and what you should be planning for. And the main thing is detail. That is what I'm going to look for, is detail. So before I go into the breakdown, I wanted to go over what a star moment is. A star moment, we didn't get to this in Monday night session, and it's something that you should be planning for. Your star moment, it stands for something they'll always remember. And if you go back to the first discussion board that I shared with you guys, and I wrote at the bottom, get them to think, get them to feel, get them to think, get them to remember. So there are several ways that you can do this, and I offered some links to not only TED Talks, but some presentations that model all different types of star moments. Now, a star moment doesn't necessarily have to have one destination within your presentation. This can happen at many different points in your presentation. In fact, it's what Nancy alludes to when talking about that spark line. It's what is and what could be, and building that tension throughout your entire presentation. You are the mentor. You're guiding your audience through your presentation as clearly as possible so they can see what you see, and they understand your purpose, your message, and who you are, because you're presenting yourself in such a way that is open and honest and transparent, and there's no room for questioning why they're there. So 5 types of star moments. Memorable dramatization. This would be your personal anecdotes. This would be an event, a dramatic event, whether it is tragic or it's triumphant. It doesn't have to be any way to have more impact over the other. Some people are inspired by triumphancy, success. So a memorable dramatization is, even though it's a different situation, it's going to put your audience in your shoes, depending on how you deliver that information. Evocative visuals. This is something that Nancy talks a lot about in Slideology. So in the chapters for this week, talking about design and choosing images, evocative visuals are something that prompts that emotion. By looking at it, it gives your audience a sense of the intensity of what you are going to be talking about. And of course, it should be complementary. It should be complementary to the impact of your words. So the images that you choose should be as impactful as your words. Now, it's kind of cliche, but I'm sure that you guys heard a picture is worth 1,000 words. Have you heard that before? Okay, so it goes back to that middle thing that I introduced you to, get them to think. So you want to get your audience to start visualizing and pondering what it is you're going to say, and then you have this awesome opportunity to present your story and present your philosophy to your audience. So images can be just as impactful as words if you use them complementary, as not to confuse. So you want to be careful when choosing the images to complement what you're going to say. Emotive storytelling. Now this is the one that is going to tug on your heartstrings. I shared a TED with you guys in the email and announcement that I created yesterday, and it's a TED with George Takei. Do you guys know who George Takei is? You may or may not. It's okay. I'm a bit older than you all. Yes. He's he's a stunning human being. I get choked up when I talk about him. I get choked up when I watch his TED, and I watched his TED so many times just because the intensity of his life and the culture that he was born into, the things that he's seen through his lifetime, and could still be a proud American and love this country probably more than most of its citizens is astounding. It's astounding to me. Um, and it's a true example of emotive storytelling, because he will get you to feel things that you've never felt before, whether it is pride or a little bit of sadness, or um, in celebration, just just being human and relating to him as a human being is beautiful. So if you want an example of how you can use this and be effective in what Nancy talks about, that spark line, watch that TED Talk. It's eye-opening, it's educational, it's enlightening, it's inspiring. I can't say enough about it. Shocking statistics. Now, this could be effective. However, we talked in Monday night session, we talked about Sarah McLachlan's presentation. Although there are a lot of really cool things about it, especially she has a beautiful voice, she's very talented, she is known to evoke emotions through her craft, and that's effective. However, the amount of information that was projected in that presentation, although it was staggering, the statistics were staggering, there was just too many numbers too fast to be able for an audience to absorb it all. So you want to be careful when choosing to use information like this. Now, it depends on the situation. Because if you want a really good example of this being effective, watch Steve Jobs introduce the iPhone. You know, selling the public on the concept of this smartphone and utilizing shocking statistics as a way to capture the attention of the audience. So there's always a time and a place for every single one of these, and you don't have to use any one of these in your presentation. You could use a combination of them all, but know when the right time in your presentation is to introduce something like this. And that's where your plans come into play. It's putting the feelers out there and understanding where you can plug in these things that would be effective for your message and your purpose. And the last one is repeatable sound bites. Now, a really effective example of this is what I'm going to talk about next, the Simon Sinek talk that I shared with you guys. He introduces the concept of the golden circle, and throughout his entire presentation, he repeats, it's not what you do, it's why you do it. And he makes this a common thread throughout the entire presentation. Not to, and he does it effectively, not to overdo it, where to the point that you're annoyed, like enough already, you don't have to say it again. He strategically puts this throughout his entire presentation, and it makes it memorable. It makes it sink into your head. So I, it's not annoying like this Super Bowl commercial, puppy baby monkey or whatever it was. I loathe that commercial, but it's not obnoxious like that. It's effective, and there's a difference. And again, it's knowing your purpose, it's knowing your message, it's knowing the dynamics of your audience, to understand where you should plug in these ideals. Is there any questions on that? Do we understand what a star moment is? Okay, I get nope and yes. Does that mean no, there's no questions, and yes, we understand? I just want to make that clear. Cool. Very cool. Okay, so this again is just a review. I did go through this on Monday night's presentation, but really all these questions are things that you need to ask yourself when you are starting to plan a presentation. This is the foundation. These are the essentials that you need. You need to know your audience. You need to know who you will be speaking to in order to understand how your presentation should go. What are the things that you should be focusing on, and what are the things that are unnecessary for that type of presentation. And this goes into your flow. Your flow is that story that we were talking about, your beginning, middle, and end, and understanding what the direction should be for your audience in order to keep their attention. Not only keep their attention, but keep them focused on your main goal and understand what you are trying to convey. What is the message that you're trying to convey? So when you make that call to action at the end, they understand that, okay, I can make a decision at this point because this presenter gave me everything that I can possibly need in order to make that decision, whether it is to hire you or it's to join you in a cause or creative collaboration, or it is to invest in you. So know that you have to plan and navigate your presentation in order to get that decision made by the end. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, and of course the tools you need, we were talking about this a little bit on Monday night. Know what you need. Know what you need. Do you need a projector? Do you need a laptop? Do you need speakers? Do you need a clicker? What do you need? If you were to go into Google tomorrow to present yourself, what would you need when you walked into that meeting? And if you didn't have those things, what can you do if you didn't have those things? And of course, what's your message? Now, I want to take a few moments on this, and it's going to tie into when I go over the golden circle, which is your why, your how, and your what. Your message is your why. It's why you do what you do. What has sparked this inspiration? What has sparked the choice to go on this path? What, why do you want to continue? Why should people care? And remember that if you're not passionate about it and you don't believe in what you're saying, how can you possibly expect your audience to believe in what you're saying? So your message needs to be clear, and it needs to come from your core. It needs to be your why. And I'll explain that when I go over the talk. Anticipate obstacles and be the problem solver. I'm already starting to see this occurring. Just going back to the discussion board for this week for a few minutes, a lot of people are sharing their ideals and this is what I want to happen, that they have been inspired by this person and want to adopt the philosophies or want to adopt the strategies in order to form the same movement or the same inspiration for their audience. And they've come up with ideas in order to solve a problem that they see, whether it's in their community, it's in their immediate family, or it's something inside of themselves that they want to see through fruition. So know that obstacles are going to occur. This is the way of life. There's always going to be something. No matter if we're conscious or not, there's always something in the way that we have to overcome or make a decision. Sometimes it's very minor, sometimes it's major. But what this world needs is not a complainer. This world needs a problem solver. Someone that comes at issues or a problem or a dilemma with a solution or suggestions of a solution. Changing perceptions, coming up with a way that could be successful for all that's involved. And I'm seeing this on the discussion board, and that's why I emphasize to go into the discussion board every day. If you can help it, go in every day. I am conversating with you. I'm pointing these things out. I'm pointing out your core beliefs, and you may or may not be aware of what you are giving out. So I'm helping to guide you in that direction, that you really do understand your why and you do understand your purpose. So I encourage you to go in on that discussion board, reach out to each other, try it out. Try out an idea or a plan with one of your classmates. See if what you're saying is understood by others. See if they understand and see what you see. And then you know that you're on the right track. And of course, reflect on the process. If I can do a repeatable soundbite myself, it would be this: reflect, 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 reflect. It gives you, it keeps you sane. It keeps you motivated. It gets rid of frustration. And again, I'm speaking from experience. I think I used wanting or having the desire to throw your Mac up against the wall. I've been there many, many times where my Mac was not going to survive my frustration. And I needed to take a breath and walk away and then come back in with a fresh mind. And we all need to do this. And sometimes it doesn't even need to be as extreme as frustration to walk away and just come back in with a fresh mind. And understand that when we're in the heat of planning out something that we're passionate about, we have this perception in our head about what it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to come out. The time that it takes to get from your head out your pen onto paper sometimes does not translate the way that you want it to translate. So we need to step outside of it for a minute and come back and read over it and see, are there things that we left out, are the things that we're missing, or the things that just don't make sense anymore. Like, what was I thinking writing all this down? But that is the excitement of the process. That's supposed to happen. It's invigorating. It gives you become your own mentor by reflecting on your process. So um, if I can have that on repeat, I would reflect. Okay, so I've also shared the link, and I mentioned this before. Simon Says That. He also has a book, which I'm on a waiting list to get. So I'm hoping it comes soon. But he's brilliant in the way that he pretty much maps it down, gives you structure on presenting any idea, whether you're an entrepreneur or you are set out to enlighten somebody on a subject or educate. It all falls into line with any situation that you're planning. So the structure is something that I have adopted actually before this class started, and it's how I structure my feedback to you. So when you are developing your plans and I give you feedback, I'm just to make you aware, I will break it down into these three categories. So I'm looking for your why. Your why is the core of what you do. And knowing your why is the strongest thing that you could do for yourself and for your audience. It's the buy-in. It's the buy-in for your audience. Why are we here? You know, why should we care about this idea? And if you are delivering it in a way with your passion and transparency, then they're going to absorb it and buy into the story. And they're going to be thirsting for what's next. Okay, well, this is why you want to do this. Now show us how you're going to do it. So now, you told us why. You set up your purpose and your message for this entire presentation. Now illustrate to us or show us how you're going to do this. And the how, that's where the research comes in. It's really getting excited about your journey here at Full Sail. It's researching your degree. It's knowing the skills, it's knowing the programs that you're going to be introduced to. It's how you plan to stay proactive and develop those skills and practice. Um, Maybe you want to go out in your own community and educate or be involved and um, get yourself out there and be visible. Part of being your personal brand, getting out there, is being visible, and that's through communication. That's looking people in the eye and shaking hands. That's having a SoundCloud. That's having a YouTube channel. That is emailing those that you want to pick their brain, that are successful in the industry. It's being visible. If you don't communicate, if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't make the connections, then you aren't visible. And that's not to be harsh. That's just a fact. So your how is illustrating that. What are you planning to do with this time here? What are you planning to do with your skills? And I know the anxiety, as I mentioned this in the beginning of this presentation. I know the anxiety. I know that you guys aren't at that point yet where you have been involved or you have created things. Now, some people are, which is awesome. And I encourage you to utilize those things that you developed as examples at this time. Do not worry about perfection at this point. I encourage you to use sketches that you did in the past, even if they're not quote unquote professionally polished. Think about how exciting it's going to be when you look back on that and revisit it and develop it into something spectacular, because you've learned and you've gained knowledge and you evolved as a person and then as an artist. Think of how exciting that is. So I want you guys to get rid of all those reservations. Get rid of not having confidence in yourself that you can make this happen, because that is what is needed to make it happen. Being aware of what you're capable of, and being aware of everything that's available to you and taking advantage of such. So the purpose of this assignment is to get you excited about the choice that you've made for yourself. You should be excited. You should be motivated. It's not to discourage you. It's not to deter you. It's supposed to lift you up and get you excited about what you're going to learn here and how you are going to grow as personally and professionally. And that it really is up to you, and you have the control. Ultimately, you have the control of your own path and the pursuit of your own happiness. It's up to you to make those choices along the way to fulfill those goals and fulfill those dreams that you set out to do. Anything is possible. You just have to, it's work. It's work. I know that it may come as a surprise to some of you, but I'm going to quote Lil Wayne. I saw an interview with him, I would say 3 years back, maybe even longer, before. I think it was when I first started Full Sail, so longer than that. And he got up there and just said, it's work, it's work, it's work. And he just kept on repeating that, almost like pounding his fist into his hand, like, it's work. I'm in the studio. Yes, you need to get rest, but sleep is not in my vocabulary. I'm at my craft. I work at my craft. And I just had so much respect for that delivery. Like his music or not, it's his work ethic that really impressed me, um, and know that that's what it entails. We don't get far in life by sitting back and thinking that it's just going to happen out of thin air. It takes work. It takes developing skills, connecting with people, getting yourself out there. And this is your how. This is how you're going to illustrate this to your audience. Show them what you've been doing or what you desire to do. And speak about it with confidence because it's in your plan. And this is what you're going to do with your time here. Make sense? Okay. And I'm sorry, I know that was long-winded, but I tend to get excited about that. I want you guys to get excited about it. And then your what. Ultimately, this is your goal. It's your tie-in to everything that you just gave this awesome presentation. Now, this is what I'm going to give you. What can you give? What do you want them to do in order to help you accomplish this goal? It is the call to action. You are making your audience move. You're making them make a decision. And I went over the different choices a little bit in Monday night's session, but I'm going to go through them a little bit right now. So your call to action has to do with the different ways that you could approach this assignment. The first one that I gave was a hire me situation. In a hire me situation, that means that you have a company that you aspire to work for in the future. Whether it is a gaming company like Naughty Dog or Telltale Games, or it's to be a computer animator for Pixar or Disney, or Universal, or it is to be a writer for Saturday Night Live or The Walking Dead. I can name everything. I can plug in whatever degree program to whatever profession. So a hire me situation is you are selling yourself to this company. And part of selling yourself to the company is knowing what the company represents and how you can fit into the brand, how your brand and what you do can fit into the philosophies of the company. So, in that situation, I highly encourage you to research the company or companies. At this point, you don't have to reflect on just one company. It's just knowing what that audience represents, what they're about, looking up their mission statement, looking up their philosophies and what they're about, and knowing that. Then going to a career page and looking up what type of careers that you can go into based on your research of your degree program and knowing what you are going to be introduced to, and have confidence that you could apply for a position in said company when all is said and done. Okay, Matt, I see that you have your hand up. Would you like to speak? Cool. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
How are you?
Morning. Doing all right. Sorry I'm late. I slept through my alarm.
No worries. You're on the West Coast, so it's a little bit early for you.
Yeah, I woke up like, oh crap. Anyway, yeah, so my question was if I'm trying to get signed by a record label, would that fall under a hire me or a buy me situation? I was thinking it was more of a buy me, but I just wanted to clarify.
It pretty much is more of a buy me, and that's what I'm getting into next. It's definitely more of a buy me situation because here you are, you're presenting yourself in front of record label execs. You're getting them to want to take the risk on you and go into contract. And of course, that deals with a lot of numbers and risks, and they want to know the profit margin and how. I hate. I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but how they're going to use you as an artist to make money, because that's ultimately that's what it's about. It's making you money and it's making them money at the same time. So,
Right.
um, I would definitely think that it's more of a buy me situation. I am going to share with you guys um, a slide deck that I put together in a program called Haiku. And what the slide deck does is it offers you slide by slide of what you should incorporate in a pitch. So in a
Okay.
buy me situation, you're really pitching your idea. You're pitching your record. You're trying to get them to sign, and it has to deal with a lot of numbers and concentrating on um, what you will ultimately do for them as the artist and what they can do for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I actually reached out to the record label that I was gonna use for this project. It's Rhymesayers Records or Rhymesayers Entertainment, and
Sweet.
it's Atmospheres label. I reached out to them and kind of sent them an email and told them that I am an aspiring MC and I'm actually attending Full Sail and I'm working on this project for creating a presentation about possibly getting signed by their record label. And I asked them to send me information, regarding how best to go about that. And the response that I got was actually pretty simple. They were just like, honestly, you don't really need much more than a SoundCloud page with your music, and if you have any music videos or anything like that, that helps too. But you don't really need much except the right attitude and some music.
Awesome.
and
Well,
I was,
I'm so happy to hear that you reached out to them, and of course, again, it goes back to understanding your audience. And you can educate me for a minute. Is this can is it safe to say that this record label is an independent record label?
yeah, they're an indie label, but they're one of the biggest indie labels in the industry. They produced acts like Atmosphere, who's had number 5 hits on Billboard.
Wow.
Um, but they've got a whole roster of more on the underground side of hip hop, but still not necessarily underground. I mean, they still have a very wide following, but they're definitely not mainstream radio type artists, which isn't what I'm really going for anyway. So,
Which is awesome, and I applaud you for that, because if any circuit that I want to go onto, it's the indie circuit. But uh, the point of bringing that up is the fact that those audiences are so different. Like your pitch to that company opposed to a pitch to Atlantic Records is so much different. Their
right.
mindset, their philosophy is extremely different, and the approach is different. Um,
Yeah, I feel like it's more about making good music versus just trying to make money.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, when I talk about the how in this situation, that's what they want to see. They want to hear your music. They want to see music videos. They want to see you in your element and your craft to illustrate what you can do.
Well, I was thinking for one of my for one of my star moments that I would do an a cappella version of the first rhyme that I ever wrote, and possibly have some emotive visuals in the background that correlate with what I'm saying.
Please do. Again, please. That would be amazing. And
Sweet.
it's very effective. Uh, like I said, I've been blessed with being able to um, be on both sides, whether it's on campus or online. And I've seen amazing things from both sides. Uh, but one of the memorable ones was I had a student on campus, musician such as yourself, and he opened up his presentation with just bars, and then got into like, okay, now you heard what I do. This is what we let's get this started, and it was just
Okay.
so amazing. It was it just showcased his passion and what he wanted to do. So
Well,
it's highly
that's an
effective.
that's an interesting thought to have it in the beginning versus at the end. I was thinking of it more as kind of like my closing statement, but that might be good to open it up that way because the first words are kind of a question of the rhyme itself. So that might be good.
That could be
It's an
very, very interesting. And I've seen it done both
okay.
ways. I've seen it done. I've actually seen it done in all different legs. I've seen it done in the beginning. I've seen it done in the middle. I've seen it done in the end. So it all depends on how the flow of your presentation and how you want that to go, and those impactful moments that happen when you want them to happen.
Gotcha.
Cool.
I'll have to try it out a couple different ways and see what works best.
And exactly that's exactly what I want for you guys, especially with these plans. The plans are, I don't want to say no holes barred in that they should be a mess, but it's like I said on Monday, a controlled chaos. I want you to explore different ways, because not only does that help me, as you know, I have the mentor role at this point in time where um, to guide you in directions. So as the mentor at this point, it allows me to visualize what you're trying to do, and guide you in a direction of your strengths, and where I see most of your passion come through, or most of your direction, the clarity of your word choices. So having different ideas allows me to help to guide you towards your strengths, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
And then it also allows yourself, when you step outside of your plans and you come back, it allows that this whole process of planning and building your presentation to have this pool of information to take from. So, for instance, there, and I talk from experience, only my experience. But I have boxes and boxes of like either loose leaf paper or um, journals or notebooks of writing that I've done for forever. And there's those times where it's a rainy day and you want to take that box down and start just reading through stuff. Um, and a lot of the times, what comes out of that is I either start to think like, where the heck was I in my life that I wrote this darkness, or I I pick out a line from something and it creates something even bigger. So that's the fun about the planning process, because you might think that something's irrelevant at a moment and then step outside of it and come back to it, and it might be your strength.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I had to totally scrap my original plan for my presentation just because after doing some research, my original thought was to uh, look for an investor to go on a world tour, but after doing some research, I kind of realized that in order to do a world tour and have somebody invest in me, I kind of need to establish myself as an artist first.
Well,
So
yes.
that's why I decided to go with the record label thing. I mean, that's the ultimate dream is to go on a world tour, but
Well, don't be afraid to dream big. You have nothing to lose.
oh, never that.
Definitely not. And I better get tickets, is all I'm saying.
Oh, for sure,
Okay.
most definitely.
Sweet. Okay, so um, just to recap everything, if you when you guys are going over your, like, sitting down to actually devise a plan, if you start from here, if you start by dividing your acts into the why, the how, and the what, that'll give you the foundation. And then it's up to you to start putting in the details on how all these things going to be illustrated to an audience in order to get them to make a decision when you create that call to action. And that that hopefully puts your mind at ease. I want you, and I put this in the email that I send out. What you should keep in mind is, if you were to give your plan to your roommate or your significant other or a friend, would they be able to understand the direction that you're going in? Would they be able to develop a presentation based on what you have given them? And that's what I'm going to be looking for. Make me understand your vision. Make me understand your goals. Um, and that actually came uh, in the very first month that we taught this class on campus. I co-taught with another colleague of mine, and at that time the lectures were a little bit longer, and we had the opportunity to have a lot of activities. And one of the things that we did was uh, give them subjects where, something as simple as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And we asked them to create a plan based on that topic. And they were in groups. And then, so they built the plan, and we said, okay, put that away and save it. And then the next week, we had them exchange it with other groups. Now, you would think that the world came to an end because we had a line at our desks of kind of outraged people. Like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to put images here? Do I incorporate a video? How do I start this? What's the beginning? And all we can say is refer to the plans, refer to the plan. But it didn't have exactly. So you need to make it clear. And making it clear is having those details. So it's awesome to start off brainstorming and having those bubbles of ideas, but make sure you're illustrating how you're going to deliver that information to your audience. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I know it's 12:30, and technically we have the room until 1. So I'm gonna open it up if any of you guys have questions for me.
Sure. Let me see here. Uh, is there any chance of possibly seeing any presentations from previous classes, like full-on presentations?
Yes, and I usually wait until week 3 to do that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Clever.
I know. Uh, it's not
I
to
figured it was
punish
going to come
you.
eventually, but I figured it couldn't hurt to ask.
Oh, absolutely not. I um, I will tell you that of I give examples of the first presentation. I give examples of the plans, and I will give examples of the finished product. However, I want your voice. I
Right.
want you guys. I want your voice. I want your passion and what you're developing to come out as much as possible. Oscar has a question. So for this week, we have to make an outline for our presentation. Yes. Yep. More than an outline, you're developing a plan. So a plan entails details. And what Matt is referring to is those examples that I shared in the email and announcement that I created. I think that was Tuesday morning, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
yesterday morning. Okay, cool. So
So
as oh, sorry, go ahead.
for the format of my plan, I kind of stuck with what I felt comfortable with. I'm doing something in PowerPoint. I actually I tried to work with some software called Mind Map Pro, but I just couldn't figure it out for the life of me. I about broke my laptop yesterday.
Oh
It was really getting on my nerves. And then I I guess I'm just not really familiar with Word enough yet. I was watching some tutorials on Linda yesterday, but I couldn't seem to get Word to do what I wanted to do. So I decided to go with uh, PowerPoint just because it's easier for me to work with. It's more intuitive for me.
no,
But
and that's perfect.
um, so it's not going to be necessarily bubbles, but I feel like what I'm doing so far is pretty clear. Um,
Awesome.
you have any recommendations on any particular aspects of PowerPoint that you think I might need to incorporate?
Um, I encourage as much as possible. I know that it's very early in the planning process, but if you do have images that you want to use, or even video or sound bites that you want to use, uh, share them, incorporate them in the plan.
Okay. How would I incorporate a song into a slide? Or
There,
maybe,
there's ways to insert audio into
okay.
PowerPoint. The best thing for you to do, and it's only because this is the best way I learned, is Linda has a tutorial on PowerPoint. And the cool thing about the tutorials on Linda is that they're itemized. So there's actually a section called um, importing audio into PowerPoint. And you could go right to that section, and they show you step by step on how to do it live. Well, not live, but you know what I mean, in video.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have that up while you have your program up, and play it and then do, and then play it and do, and
Got
then
it.
that always works for me.
So for this particular plan presentation, do you want us to be talking this out as well? Are we recording ourselves talking yet, or is that more of the first draft?
That's more the first draft, and that's gonna come in week 3.
Okay.
Okay. So right now is just pretty much getting all your ideas out. And
And then when we do end up going through that, I know I have a Mac Pro, and I know there's a camera function in there, but I've never used it.
mhm.
Are there tutorials on Linda about the best way to go about recording ourselves? Because I mean, I don't have a GoPro or anything like that.
Oh yes, and in all honesty, you're getting ahead. But the discussion board for next week is all about sharing um, ideas or success stories on audio software to use for your presentation. So everyone's going to be sharing ideas on what they use to record their voice. I will share some things, and um,
Well, I
last
mean,
time,
I have my recording studio, so I've got Logic Pro and all that kind of stuff. So
sweet. So
I could
uh,
probably do it that way.
yeah, everyone will be sharing things that have helped them before, and even sharing a sample of a recording.
Awesome.
Cool. It works out really well, and it's I say every discussion board is my favorite, but I really do love the discussion boards just because I get to witness all of you guys working together and supporting each other, and it just makes my heart happy. Um, and that one in particular gets me excited because everybody is just so supportive of each other, and they they help each other out, and um, point point others in the right direction, and it's just beautiful. I digress, but I love watching that.
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be informative for sure.
Yes, yes. Okay. Well, does anyone else have any questions before we wrap things up?
I'm good.
Cool. Well, thanks, Matt, for asking those questions because um, most of the time, probably more times out of none, there's other people that have the same questions. So I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront and us having a discussion. So thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry for getting ahead. I just like to have all the info.
You never have to apologize about wanting to get ahead and asking questions. Never apologize for that. That's awesome.
For
Uh,
sure.
okay, so Caitlin says, I think I'm set, which is, I guess, okay. Oscars, yeah, me too. I want to be sure that I'm ready. You guys are ready. I promise you, you're ready. Um, and just just really pay attention to the feedback that I offer you. This way, it's. I'm gonna give you. I take a lot of time on it, and to give you direction, and that's both with the discussion board and the feedback that I'll give you once all the plans are submitted. So, um,
And
just
the plans are due Sunday, right?
correct. Yes.
I'm almost finished with mine, but
Sweet. Now,
I
now you'll
I
have.
spent like I spent like 14 hours yesterday, and I had to stop.
Oh yes, yes.
My
You
brain
have to
was
stop.
my brain was so mush.
I've been there. I've been there many times. So I get you, but know that you have to take that break for your sanity. You have to take that break. Um, but it's good to be proactive. I hated feeling rushed or have the anxiety of the weekend. I couldn't do that to myself.
Well, I just know that I needed to get as much done while I've got days off from work that I can, so that way, because the next 3 days I'm going to be working like 10-hour days at work, so
Oh, yeah.
just I don't want to have to come home after working a long day and have to like get super serious and focus for 5 hours, So
Oh,
I wanted to get as
I
much of it
know.
done as I could.
I know. And you do. You have to pace yourself because then you burn out. Especially with the MFA that I did last year. My classes were as big as your classes, if not bigger. So it's utilizing my brain and giving all the feedback, and then having to provide feedback to my classmates, and then doing my own writing and assignments. So I totally understand. Totally understand. Um,
Yeah, I'm getting excited and nervous too, Oscar.
yes,
That's
I
for
just
sure.
read that too. Um, I will tell you, Oscar, that is completely normal. You are not abnormal for both being excited and nervous. The fact that you are nervous should give you incentive. If you weren't nervous, then I would question that. But being nervous is a part of the process, a part of the excitement. They go hand in hand. So no worries. That's what we're all here for. We're all here to support each other, and um, for the most part, we all want each other to succeed. And um, that's why I encourage your classmates are just as much as an asset as all this knowledge is. They could be just as important as myself as the instructor, or even Nancy. So I encourage that connection.
Um, One other thing, well, I guess this would be a Linda type of thing, but when I submitted my original presentation, it was more of a PDF document,
Mhm.
um, even though it was from PowerPoint. But if I'm going to incorporate music, that wouldn't necessarily be a PDF. Would I have to make it a slideshow?
Yes, and you could also export it as a movie file. And it's really easy for you to go up to file, and it says export as. If
Okay.
you need a visual, Linda also does that for you
Okay.
in that tutorial. Um,
Okay, sweet.
but absolutely, if you are incorporating any type of media in the PowerPoint presentation, it's always best to export as movie.
Sweet. Thanks for the info, Oscar. And yeah, thanks, Miss P.
Cool, cool. So, my friends, you have a lot to do, and I have discussion boards to get on. Hopefully, more people have posted. Um,
Yeah, I'm still waiting on some of my classmates to respond to mine. What the heck?
I know, I know. Oh, and thanks for introducing me to Grouch, by the way.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that. I thought it
Yes,
was a pretty good example of what I'm trying to do. So,
I love it. I love it. I'm waiting to hear. I have a submission in for an event coming up. I'm waiting to hear back if I will be a reader. So, Oscar, I'm both excited and nervous as well because speaking my poetry gives me stomach aches. So, I
oh yeah, you're gonna do
understand.
some spoken word, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Nice.
I'm gonna try. I'm definitely more the
Is
writer
it
than
is
I
it
am the
is it,
performer.
is it your first time on stage?
No, I tried out. It was smaller scale though. It was a local cafe that I did my first time, which was it was really really cool. I They were all very welcoming, and the host actually wrote something really nice about me. Um, and It's motivational. It's given me some confidence. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, just don't drink any coffee right before you go out.
No, I know it gives you that acid in your throat, and then you choke up.
Yeah. I kind of recommend maybe just like one small like shot or something like that just to calm your nerves for your first time out. But, you know, that's one way to go about it.
Thank you for the advice. Oh, thank you, Oscar. I appreciate it. I will let you guys know. And I actually I have a piece that I wrote for my students that I share at our last meeting. It's my
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got to share something.
yes. I wrote a piece for my students. It's kind of my last words of wisdom as you go on to the rest of your program. So um, you'll get a piece.
Sweet.
Cool. Cool. And of course, I invite. It's only happened a few times, which I wish it would happen more. But I invite you guys, oh, if you want to share something, to share it then. So you're invited.
All right.
Cool. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me this morning/afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and good luck. Stay in contact with each other. Know that initial post is due by this evening, 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. So I know you guys will do great things. I'm looking forward to your plans and enjoy the rest of your day.
Sounds good, Miss P. See you
Cool.
soon.
See you soon.